There's a lot of stress on whatever here. Title this factoring, please. And we're factoring actual binomials. Which also could be called factoring quadratics, because it's going to be kind of the same thing. Lucky you. And in order to think about factoring quadratics and binomials, well, we're not factoring, we're factoring trinomials, sorry, let's get this right. We're factoring trinomials and quadratics into binomials. Sorry about that. If you don't understand what pairs, so it doesn't matter. Factoring quadratics, trinomials into binomials. And here is what we're doing. Take a look at this. X plus 3 times x minus 4. We've done this before. This is multiplying two binomials. You will tell me we did this before because you know the little saying we use when we multiply binomials. FOIL. It is FOIL. That looks like this. You multiply the two first terms together, you get x squared. You multiply the two outside terms, you multiply the two outside terms together, you get negative 4x. The two inside terms together, you get plus 3x. And you multiply the two last terms together, you get minus 12. And these middle terms, as a rule, will combine because they're like terms. You end up with x squared minus x minus 12. This is not a starting revelation. We did this a lot before. Okay, that was just a review. Correct? Everybody? Because what we're doing for tomorrow is we're starting with this, which is the trinomial, the quadratic, and you have to think about what two binomials multiplied together to give you that. So you're starting with this and going backwards. Factoring a trinomial, three-term thing, which is also called a quadratic, because you can put it equal to 0. And I will give you the simple, easy steps that you'll say, oh, I thought this was going to be hard, but you've made it so easy, I can't believe I didn't know how to do this before. Josh? Nope. Nope. Nope and nope. These are the only two binomials that will give you this. Negative x.
Negative x and x.
I don't know what you're saying.
The answer is yes.
So here we go. Let's say you have this. X squared plus 7x plus 12. Why is this not right? I'll do it here. X squared plus 7x plus 12. Okay, here's the deal. Okay. Your first step is to write two parentheses. I'm going to give you as baby steps as I can. You're going to write your two parentheses. Okay, if you think about FOIL, let's put it up here. If you think about FOIL, the way I got this first term, going back to the problem we just did. Going back to the problem we just did, where did this x squared come from?
The first term.
Whatever these two things times themselves are. So, you have no choice. There's only one way to get x squared by multiplying two things together, and that simply would just be an x and an x. The two first terms have to multiply together to give you this first term. Okay? If this would be y squared, I'd put two y's. Later on, we'll have numbers in front of that x squared thing, and that'll throw a monkey, but not for today. If this was m squared, it'd be two m's. Okay? Let's just say, if it was 5x squared, you'd have to have 1 be 5 and x and 1 have to be x, because there's no other way to make 5 times 1. Now 6 gets a little tougher because you could have 6 times 1, you get 2 times 3, 3 times 2, but for right now we're just going to have these easy x squared ones. Now, the next thing you look at, children, is this. And this is where people get lost a little bit here. If we go back and look at this thing here, the other one we know for sure is how we ended up getting this last term. Because these middle two were, this middle term came from a combination of things putting together, you want to jump right to the end and say, okay, how do I get a negative 12? Okay, how do you get a negative 12? Well, we're not doing negative 12s, we're doing positive 12s. And here's where you have to think of all the different combinations. Step number 2, look at the last term. Look at the last term. And think of, oh boy, why is it doing that? And think of all possible combinations. I wish I could write that, it's not writing that for me here. Combos. What else is wrong with that here? So here's what you do. I have to look at positive 12, and I think, how many combinations can give me positive 12? Well, I can have 6 times 2. Wait, but you got to think of this. You got a positive 6 and positive 2. You could have a negative 6 and a negative 2. Those both multiplied together also give you positive 12. You could have 12 times 1, or a negative 12 times negative 1. You could have a 4, positive 4 times positive 3, or you could have a negative 4 times a negative 3. These are all the different combinations or possibilities that could fit into those 2 categories, 2 columns over there. Step 3, you have to pick the one, pick the combo that combined gives you the middle term you want. In other words, when you combine these these combinations, when you put them together, you have to get a 7 and a positive 7. Well, if you look at this, 6 and 2 gives you a positive 8. Negative 6, negative 2 gives you a negative 8. Positive 12. Positive 1 gives you 12, negative 12, negative 1 is negative, 13, negative 13. 4 and 3 gives you a positive 7. So this has to be x plus 4, x plus 3. These could be switched around. You could put the plus 3 and the plus 4 there. But this is the binomial that multiplied together gives you that trinomial. Okay. So you start with this, write down your thing, think about that. Now let's look at another one. Now that you're thoroughly excited about this. X squared minus 4x minus 12. X squared minus 4x minus 12. So you start with your parentheses. By the way, you don't, when you get good at this, you don't have to write all those things down, but it's probably good to write it down. What times what gives you x squared? X times x. Think of all the combinations now that give you a minus 12. Okay, it's a minus 12, so the signs have to be opposite of the things. You could have a positive 6 and a negative 2, negative 6, positive 2, positive 3, negative 4, negative 3, positive 4, positive 12, negative 1, negative 12, plus 1. Only one of these combinations will give you a minus 4. Which one gives you the minus 4, Josh?
Negative 6.
Negative 6 plus 2.
Party in the USA.
How about this one? X squared plus 5x plus 4. X squared plus 5x plus 4. Again, you know that this has to be x's. Think about what combination multiplies gives you 4, when added together gives you 5. What two numbers multiplied together give you 4, but added together give you 5. Sam, you got an idea? What?
X plus 4, X plus 1.
X plus 4, X plus 1. After a while, you'll start to see a little pattern here.
And that's all I have to do.
This is it. The only way for both of these numbers to be positive is for both of these to be positive. Okay? The only way for this to be negative, the only way for this to be negative and this to be positive
Both to be negative.
is for them both to be negatives. Let's say I had this, x squared minus 11x plus 28. The only way to get a positive ending number and a negative middle number is for both of these to be negative. Because there's no way you can have, the only way you can get a positive ending number is to have them either both positive or both negative. And if they're both positive, there's no ways you're going to get a negative number. What would this be? X and X. What times what gives you a positive 28 when added together gives you a negative 11.
7.
A negative 7 and a negative 4. Negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28, and we can lose negative 11.
Ready for some of that? I don't know what to do. Let's figure out what time subject is from.
If this is positive and that's negative, one has to be negative. If this is negative, one has to be negative, one has to be positive. There's no other choice, because there's no other way to get whatever. Love it.
How can we do that on the
I
other?
got it.